The first Friday practice of the 2020 Formula One season kicked off in sunny conditions at Bahrain, and the entire paddock was on edge to see what this year's cars had in store. The first session under daylight was largely useless for most teams with regards to competitive running, but it was another chance to shake down the cars and iron out any issues. And that's just what Jaguar needed, as Stoffel Vandoorne's running was cut short with engine issues and he was asked to pull over at the side of the circuit by his engineers. The British team had spoken about reliability being their only main concern ahead of the new season, as they were confident of the raw speed their brand new Jaguar engine can produce. And so as day turned towards night, the teams slowly started to ramp up their setups, and it appeared to be extremely close across the field, with certain cars going for a low drag approach to achieve their lap times and others going for pure downforce. This resulted in the entire field looking likely to be set apart by less than 1.4 seconds, a prospect which will make this the most competitive field yet in MyDriver history. Let's take a look at the starting grid for the Bahrain Grand Prix and first race of this 2020 season. After losing the Drivers' Championship by just 6 points in 2019, Carlos Sainz kicks off his 2020 championship bid in the best possible way, taking the first pole of the season in Bahrain. He's joined on the front row by Stoffel Vandoorne, who's in a very quick Jaguar that may suffer from reliability issues. Then comes the Italian Antonio Giovinazzi, now driving for Scuderia Ferrari. He's joined on the second row by Daniel Ricciardo, the Australian who is genetically Italian. Aarava in the other Jaguar will start from 5th position alongside Sebastian Vettel in the other Ferrari, who got out-qualified by his new teammate. Romain Grosjean understandably thrilled with 7th position in his Haas, and even more thrilled to be starting ahead of the Constructors' champions Audi, with Sergio Perez down in 8th position. Disappointing qualifying for him. The 2019 champion Max Verstappen starts his Mercedes from 9th position alongside the other Haas of Nico Hülkenberg in 10th position, both Haas's getting into the top 10. Then comes Kevin Magnussen for McLaren. He'll start from 11th position alongside Mick Schumacher for the Monster Rehab team. And just behind comes the other Mercedes of Pascal Wehrlein. He starts from 13th position alongside Sophia Flörsch for the Monster Rehab team, starts 14th. Back in 15th position, we have the leading Red Bull. Incredible to say that. Pierre Gasly could only manage 15th in qualifying. He's alongside the Williams driver of Lando Norris. 17th position is going to be Charles Leclerc for the Alfa Romeo team, a boost for the Alfa Romeos, it would seem, this season. He'll start alongside Sergio Camara in the other Williams. Then comes Esteban Ocon, who is now a Renault driver, starting 19th position alongside the other Red Bull of Nico Kari. And bringing up the rear of the grid, we have Fuoco in 21st position for Alfa Romeo and Valtteri Bottas for Renault in 22nd.
What's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to F1 MyDriver. This is season number 6, episode number 1 for round number 1 at the Bahrain Grand Prix. It is back. We're back for the F1 2020 season in the MyDriver universe. You guys have been screaming for it in the comments below since season 5 ended, and so we're back for one final season on this game, and it's season number 6. But here we go for the formation lap at the Bahrain Grand Prix, qualified in P5. Pretty decent, actually, and a big, large unknown, really, of what's going to happen in this race. Obviously, you can see the pecking order in qualifying, but, you know, that can always change during the race. You know, you have tyres, you have fuel, you have whatever could happen, especially for us. Reliability is maybe going to be something we have to look at, but it should be a good one. We've got Audi still back there at the front, McLaren, Ferrari, a bit of a resurgence for them. We've got the brand new guys in the top 10, Haas, Chevrolet, and then, of course, we've got us with a brand new Jaguar engine and the entire rest of the grid. I hope you guys are looking forward to this season, because I certainly am, and it should be a cracking one. The grid separated by 1.4 seconds in qualifying. Here we go to 5 red lights. Round number 1 of the season 2020 is a go. 5 red lights are out and we're underway, and it's an okay start for us. Bit of a gingerly one in second and third gear, but as we go into turn 1, we're going to try and see what we can do. Stoffel Vandoorne, our teammate, is into P1 as he goes side by side with Carlos Sainz into turn 1. We've got Grosjean, I think Sebastian Vettel going down by inside. We go side by side on the exit of turn 2, and we've actually been overtaken by the German, and Giovinazzi up ahead tries to have a look at Daniel Ricciardo. Can we try and go around the outside of Vettel? No, we can't, because Vettel goes down the inside of his new teammate, Antonio Giovinazzi, the Italian, in the second Ferrari car. Giovinazzi just about holds on to P4. Vettel back down to P5. We're in P6, trying to hang on to the back of Vettel's gearbox. Can we try and make a move down the inside? We're going to go for it into the hairpin corner as the sunset comes down. We're going going to get up into P5 there, just ahead of our old rival Sebastian Vettel. We've had so many battles in MyDriver, and so there's no love lost there between us two. But now we're going to try and see if we can close up on Giovinazzi then. But there you go, as the panning shot there. There's Stoffel Vandoorne in the lead this Grand Prix, followed by Carlos Sainz, then Daniel Ricciardo in P3 there in his brand new McLaren. Obviously frustrated with his Ferrari from last season, and clearly the move is working out for him quite well there, because he qualified in P4 and he's up in the podium positions right now. So Giovinazzi didn't get the best start off the order of 5 red lights. Maybe a little bit of nerves in the new Ferrari car for him in there, and understandable, obviously, the Italian in an Italian team, it's quite a big deal for him. But we're going to look at a replay now of the start. Now this is Vandoorne in P2, and he got a great start there. Look at that, pretty much no wheel spin there for our Belgium teammate, and he's up into P1. Sainz bogging down quite a bit, and he tries to come back at Vandoorne, to be fair to him, tries and outbrakes him. You got Ricciardo also going around the outside of Giovinazzi, and this was a successful move into turn 2. Very, very close stuff between his left front tyre and Ricciardo's side pod there, but he uses the Honda engine then to good use off turn 3, and is able to get up into P3. And then this was Vettel dive-bombing Giovinazzi there. We were obviously sitting back and watching that fight occur, and Vettel unable to get that. But now we're looking at a replay of this. Will be Nico Carey, one of the debutants this season in the Red Bull car. Now, he qualified in P20 quite some way back, but I believe he made quite a good start into turn 1. Oh my god! Wow, what a start for Nico Carey. What a dive bomb and a half into turn 1. I think even I would be proud of that dive bomb if I made that. That was about 8 positions taken there. He's overtaken a Mercedes car. Has a look at the Haas car. What a start there. So that he's his first race in Formula 1, and he's clearly not got any nerves there. Just sends it down the inside. Brilliant start there from the young Finn. So now we move on to the end of lap 2, on to lap 3. A little bit of wheel spin there. Bit of a tank slapper on the exit, but we're going to try and close up to Giovinazzi as Vandoorne sets the fast lap of the Grand Prix, still leading the way from Sainz and Ricciardo. You can see the top 3 getting away from Giovinazzi a little bit, and Sainz closing right up to the gearbox of Vandoorne, as I do the same to Giovinazzi. Now trying to set ourselves up through turn 2, trying to get the best exit we can, and then using the brand new Jaguar engine to good effect. You're going to see here lots of good slipstream here, and look at the speed we're gaining. This is not something I'm used to from last season. We're going to go down the inside of the Italian. We've had so many scraps with him as well in previous seasons gone by, but previously it was Red Bull v Toro Rosso. Now it's Jaguar v Ferrari. How times change. We go side by side through the S section, still giving the room. Giovinazzi forced us wide a little bit over the curbing, but in the same place we overtook his teammate. Can we try and squeeze him out on the exit of the hairpin? Gonna have to still give him the room, as he's got the nose in there on the left hand side, but we'll power past him on the exit as we climb up the hill and then down the hill again for this very tricky braking zone. But we're up into P4 now, and now we've got clean air to try and close up to the top 3. Behind us then Giovinazzi, Vettel, Magnussen, and then Sergio Perez, who's really struggling at the moment in this Grand Prix in traffic there. It was obviously a characteristic from last season. The Audi cars didn't fare too well in traffic, although to say that, Sainz looking pretty good and maybe lining himself up to maybe overtake our teammate Vandoorne, who still leads the way, but he's going to have DRS now and slipstream. So let's see if Sainz can make a move for the lead of this Grand Prix. Obviously lost it off pole position. Here he goes to the right hand side. He's going to get cleanly past Vandoorne, and behind it looks like the 2 Ferrari cars are going to go side by side, but he's not got it quite yet. Vandoorne's going to come back at him into turn 2. He's left the door open, and Vandoorne comes round the outside. It's a great re-overtaking move for first place, so Vandoorne not going to give that place up too easily there. Gets the shoulders out, and he's going to go into sector 2, round the outside of that next corner. Maybe Ricciardo will come back through. I think there's been a bit of contact made there, as Sainz has to wrestle the car and keep second place just about, but Ricciardo sitting back, probably eating some popcorn right now, just licking his lips, and maybe the opportunity to overtake as we move on to the end of lap 4 through the final corner. Will Ricciardo now line up a pass? Bit of a lock up there from Carlos Sainz, so Sainz feeling the pressure right now, and so here goes Ricciardo with slipstream. Ricciardo's not used to this, having good momentum and a good engine behind him now from the Ferrari of last season, but now with the new Honda powered McLaren. Here he goes, maybe making a move. No, it's Sainz again down the inside of Vandoorne. Very, very weird camera angle. Couldn't really see that happening, but Sainz tries to make a move, and yet again Vandoorne will have a good defensive move. Now this is really offset and off-put Carlos Sainz, so now will Ricciardo be able to make a move now into the next corner? No, it won't, but it'll be nose to tail as they go into sector 2. Great stuff to witness for the top 3 so far at the Bahrain Grand Prix. And whilst that was happening on the previous lap, lap 4, at the same time, I mentioned it briefly, the 2 Ferraris were doing battle as well. So this was 2 laps earlier, really, the end of lap 3. Vettel sends one down the inside of his younger teammate there. Obviously, at the moment, Vettel being outperformed by Giovinazzi in qualifying, so he's got a point to prove, so he gets him. But then down the main straight, with DRS and Slipstream. Giovinazzi will try and come back. Looks like Magnussen is going to try and also make a move. Will he make a double overtake? Yes, he will. Kevin Magnussen with a double overtake down the back straight into turn 1, but Vettel's not giving that place up. Down the inside, they'll go side by side on the exit of turn 2. Great little scrap here between the McLaren Honda and the 2 Ferrari cars, but looks like Magnussen from this camera angle can't quite tell, but I think Magnussen will just about have this. No, Vettel goes around the outside. Still will Magnussen squeeze him out off into the curbing. They go side by side into the S section. Still, this is absolutely a brilliant battle that we missed while we're looking at Audi and McLaren up ahead. The McLaren and Ferrari doing such a great battle through still half the circuit. This will be half the lap. They're going side by side, and Magnussen just on the exit there in the same place we got the Ferrari cars. Magnussen's able to get the 2 Ferraris there eventually, and is up into what will be P5 now, just behind us. But we're here in P4. We're actually starting to close up now on the top 3, but my tire's starting to go off, and I think, hang on, these guys are battling up front for the top 3 positions. They're going to lose time fighting over each other. Why don't I make an early pit stop, get the undercut going, going to get some clean air, and Giovinazzi looks like he's thinking the same thing behind me there, so we're going to make a bit of an earlier pit stop, go aggressive. I think the strategy for us today is going to be a 3-stop, completely avoiding the medium tyres, because from practice what we saw is the medium tyres weren't really the race tyre you wanted to be on. A couple of people might try that in the end just to be basically just to make the 2-stop work eventually. You can see Seta Camara there in the top left is on medium tyre, so there will be teams trying the medium tyre just to kind of make the 2-stop work, but I think honestly the 3-stop is going to probably be faster for us. But now we move on away from us later into the Grand Prix, other part of the circuit on lap 6, at the end of lap 6. This will be Ricciardo coming to the pits, I think this will be, and Vandoorne, and Carlos Sainz continues on for one more lap. So Sainz going 7 laps, that will be on super soft tyres, the same for Magnussen, so that's quite a long way to take super softs at Bahrain really. And so Ricciardo and Vandoorne come in, and let's see what tyres they're going to go on. Meanwhile, we've got further behind a Mercedes car of, I think this is Max Verstappen down the inside of Nico Carey there, down the inside. No, it's Pascal Wehrlein, my bad. Pascal Wehrlein on the soft tyre, so he started on the soft tyre, so very interesting strategy call from Wehrlein there, and he's doing battle with Nico Carey, unable to get him there. But now as we come to the pit lane, we've overtaken Vandoorne. Can we overtake Ricciardo into turn 1, braking nice and easy, trying to give him the room, but we make the move round the outside, and so that's a double overtake with the undercut, so that's worked out beautifully for us. But will Ricciardo come back at us? Yes, he will. We're going to have to squeeze him to the inside, and to move back to the racing line, go round the outside, leave him the room, lock up a little bit, but leave him the room down the inside. But we've got that, and we're up into what should be a net P2 now, because we've overtaken Ricciardo and Vandoorne. Now it's just about where this man is, Carlos Sainz, on lap 7, at the end of lap 7. Let's see if we can overtake him. If we can, this strategy has worked out to an absolute T, this will be. But that will be also with a bit of good luck as well, because I believe in looking at the mini-map, I think Giovinazzi, also pit on the same time as us, has come out in traffic there for him, so that'll be unfortunate. And now we move on, looking on towards lap 8. This is for the lead of the Grand Prix. Sophia Flores overtaking Nico Carey, and these 2 rookie debutants in Formula 1 are doing battle over P1 because they're yet to pit from harder compound of tyres. As we cross the line now, Ricciardo's going to overtake us for what will be P9. This will be as Sainz comes out ahead of us in the Grand Prix. We're going to make an aggressive move on Ricciardo. We just about missed. Carlos Sainz go neutral for a second there. I was getting so overexcited into turn 1 as we narrowly miss rear-ending Carlos Sainz. So I went for a very audacious and aggressive move on Ricciardo as he just waltzed past us with the Honda engine and DRS. So I had to go a bit aggressive there, but got it a bit wrong under braking. But thankfully, not too much contact was made there. I think I got a warning from the FIA, but thankfully no carbon fibre shed from my front wing. So absolutely awesome action so far at this Bahrain Grand Prix. It's only been 8 laps gone, but at the moment it looks like it'll be Sainz and Annette P1, Ricciardo P2, myself P3, and then Vandoorne P4. So in all of that, us two Jaguar cars have lost some time out there. But can we get slipstream on Ricciardo now as we go down into the final corner on this next lap? We'll send it down the inside just like Sebastian did to Antonio Giovinazzi, and we'll go side by side on the exit. Looks like Ricciardo has got a pretty decent run out to that final corner, so we'll go side by side. It's a drag race down this main straight. We both have DRS because Ricciardo's got it off Sainz, and so Vandoorne closes up to me. We're going to make a move, late move down into turn 1, easy on the apex, locking up. We're going to go a little bit wide and pinch Ricciardo off, and that's going to help Vandoorne get the place. So a bit of teamwork there between me and Stoffel Vandoorne, because I want him to perform as well as I can as well, because that'll be the best thing for the constructors. So helping out Vandoorne a little bit there, and he gets up the order. Ricciardo getting a little bit wayward on the back end of Vandoorne, but Vandoorne is indeed up into P P8, which will be an effective net P3 here in this Grand Prix. So now we've got some clean air here on lap 9 to try and catch up to Carlos Sainz, and we're basically just going as hard as we can. We're all on soft tyres though, so we're all very equal in terms of what our pace should be. So now as we move on to lap 10, this will be a little bit down the order. This is Romain Grosjean in the Haas Chevrolet car, and it looks like down that straight he's just about ahead of Vettel, but Vettel outbrakes him into turn 1, tries to go around the outside. He's just going to get squeezed out there on the exit, and behind them, look at that, Nico Hülkenberg squeezing out Sergio Perez on the exit of turn 2, and so now Perez will have to defend from Pascal Wehrlein and Kevin Magnussen. But here goes Hülkenberg, overtaking one car, the Audi, and fancies overtaking the next one, Sebastian Vettel, his fellow countryman. They go side by side on the exit of that corner into sector 2. This will be very close through the S section. Will Hülkenberg be able to stick it down the inside and keep it around the outside? Will he have the downforce for it? He goes round the outside. Vettel's going to squeeze him off circuit a little bit, but he's going to still keep it down the inside. In the same place where I overtook Vettel, Hülkenberg is going to do the same exact thing, and so it looks like the Ferrari cars, both of them getting really poor exits off that specific corner up the hill there. But as we saw behind them was Perez, then I think it was Pascal Wehrlein, and then the other McLaren of Kevin Magnussen. And that kind of begs the question, where on earth is Max Verstappen? He's really struggling in this Grand Prix compared to his teammate who's still there in the top 10. I think Verstappen, we saw earlier from practice that he had some balance issues, and so Verstappen really struggling for pace. Obviously the reigning world champion, very surprising indeed. But now as we're on lap 11, you can see there a bit of a fight between Vandoorne and Ricciardo, as I'm up ahead trying to push as hard as I can to catch Sainz, and then onto the main straight on towards lap 12. This will be Daniel Ricciardo with DRS wide open, moves the right hand side, and he's going to go right past Vandoorne. Will Vandoorne have anything to answer? Don't think he will. Into turn 1, you can see Giovinazzi just about holding onto the back of Vandoorne. He's on super soft tyres, whereas obviously most of us on softs. Now we already know that I've said I'm going on a 3-stop. Giovinazzi on super softs basically has committed himself to the 3-stop, whereas everyone else on softs, well, I just don't know. They could be doing a 2-stop. If they go on to mediums, they could try the 2-stop, or they could go on to 2 sets of super softs like I'm going to and try that kind of traditional 3-stop, whereas Giovinazzi's doing it the other way around. He's going aggressive first on super softs and then probably ending his race with softs, which in my opinion probably wouldn't work out too well. But hey ho, that's just his method of the race today. But that's a bit of a big unknown of what everyone's actually going to do, because that's quite a bit of race time. Obviously I'm going to have to make up that time in the pit stop phases if the others are indeed doing a 2-stop. And meanwhile, lap 13, we can see behind the order, this will be just out of the point. Sophia Flores trying to make a move on the 2 Renault cars, goes down inside of one car, which I think will be Esteban Ocon, I think that is, and then up ahead of her will be Valtteri Bottas in the second Renault car. The 2 Renaults not doing too badly for themselves, actually, to be fair to them, running alongside a Monster Rehab car. I mean, Renault, we didn't think much of them for this season, so to be up there fighting the Monster Rehab car, not too bad. And Mick Schumacher way down the order. I think he had major issues at the start of this Grand Prix, but unfortunately we don't have any replays of that for you. But now onto lap 14, we've got a bit of a scrap between the 2 Red Bull Racing cars. We've got Pierre Gasly going down the inside of his junior teammate, locking up into turn 1. Nico Carey, obviously after that amazing turn 1 on lap 1, he's going to have to try and do some defending there from his senior teammate Pierre Gasly, obviously my former teammate from season 4, and looks like for now Carey's going to keep it ahead of him. And also I think that's Max Verstappen in the background there, so Verstappen really struggling on his set of soft tyres at the moment. He's been nowhere in this Grand Prix compared to his teammate Pascal Wehrlein, who's not doing too badly, because Wehrlein has been on soft tyres since the start of this Grand Prix. So he's really he's going for a bit of a weird, different, bold strategy compared to the rest of us top 10, but it's working out for him. But anyway, to lap 14, unable to actually catch Sainz to make a move or anything like that, but we did do some good work and good lap times to close up the gap somewhat. But now making an earlier pit stop onto a set of super soft tyres, as I mentioned earlier. And so basically, once again, we're hoping that if we can get some good clean air, we can effectively gain the same time we gained on the first pit stop, and perhaps even jump Carlos Sainz if he gets held up in traffic himself, maybe with some blue flags or anything like that. So we'll have to see. So we're looking down the order pit lane, 3 cars going to turn 1 there, very close stuff. The 2 Red Bull cars, looks like the Merc of Verstappen's overtaking one of the Red Bulls there. As we go into turn 1, we come out just ahead of the 2 Renault cars, who are going side by side through turn 2. So maybe the Renault's not fighting for points right now in this race, but at least they're having a great battle between themselves and fighting over the wooden spoon. This will be Ocon trying to do his best to overtake his more senior teammate Valtteri Bottas. He goes round the outside and he's going to try and hang it, but Bottas will come back at him there, and I think Ocon just keeps ahead. Yeah, you can see in the top left, Ocon stays there in P13, and we do have some clean air there. We're going to close up to Sophia Flores, who's overtaking on the Red Bull cars. So I think this will be Nico Carey or maybe Pierre Gasly, and you can see up ahead. Max Verstappen going to turn 1, but we're closing up, and it is indeed Carey. So those two really getting familiar with each other, battling side by side for many, many times in this Grand Prix so far. But now we've closed right up to the back of our former team, Red Bull. Can we try and overtake them? How times change. The Red Bull's going to be easy meat for us down the inside as we go into Sector 2. Going to go nice and easy. Third gear, get the power down the exit, squeeze them out, and we're up into P11 now. And now we can chase after the Monster Rehab car, and then the works Mercedes car of, I believe it is Max Verstappen, or I don't know, it might be Pascal Wehrlein. I can't quite tell by their two helmets. Obviously, they've both got actually red tops, their helmets this year, so it's hard to tell sometimes. We're closing right up to the pink lemonaded sponsored car, Monster Rehab, and we're going to close up with DRS, and we'll see what the slipstream and speed's going to be like against this car. Obviously, last year, this team was Force India, and they had pretty damn good speed down the straight, and it looks like down this back straight it's going to be the same thing. So generally this team likes to run lower drag setups to get good straight line speed, but that does generally mean they have to compromise on downforce through the corners, and that's something we definitely have a lot of as we find ourselves finding the grip round the outside, getting the power down in gear 6, round the outside of the right hander corner, a little bit off camber there, so it sends us a little bit wide, but we're up into P10. But the Monster Rehab car is going to come back at us though with the straight line speed it's got. Down the inside, we're going to try and squeeze them. We're going to brake a little bit earlier, and then look at this, it's going to be so satisfying. Lovely little cut back and switch back move, and that is the most satisfying move I've made yet in this Grand Prix. That was a really, really satisfying move. So now we're down the back straight, got the DRS open I think as well, and we're going to try and close up now on this monster Mercedes up ahead of us, which I do believe is Max Verstappen there, number 33, as we go into turn 1. And behind us it's going to be Sophia Flores defending from the Red Bull car, and then look at that, that is Carlos Sainz coming out the pits on medium tyres, and he's well behind us. So Sainz, that is exactly what I was hoping for. Sainz has lost so much time in the pit stop, staying out on that set of soft tyres for about 2 laps there, and so he's come out on medium tyres. So Sainz is definitely trying the 2-stop there. As we look further behind, as we've got an Alfa Romeo of Leclerc, I think that is, going around the outside of one of the Williams cars there, ahead of both Williams of Lando Norris and Seta Camara there. So Leclerc going well there in the upgraded Alfa Romeo from last season, obviously unable to really show his skill, and so he's enjoying his racing this year round in this first race. But now this is actually, sorry, the entire time I got it wrong, it was Pascal Wehrlein. We're going to go round the outside of our former teammate from Mercedes there. Again, no love lost between Wehrlein there, so we're getting all familiar with our former teammates in this Grand Prix, and we go round the outside of Wehrlein. He's on soft tyres, trying a very unorthodox 2-stop, I think this is, with Wehrlein, so I believe his tyres may be quite worn there. But now we're up into P3. Gasly, I think, is making a pit stop right now. Yes, he is. And also Nico Hulkenberg, I think that is. So, yeah, we're into P1 of this Grand Prix, but not for too long, as Wehrlein makes a move down the inside. What is this? I didn't expect the Mercedes car to come down the inside. We have to do a switchback move into turn 1, the exit of turn 2, round the outside, a little bit wide on the curbing there, but it's fine. And we're back up into P1, going to go defensive into the inside line, but I was not expecting this. The Mercedes car suddenly has gained some pace in the straight line there with Wehrlein. I don't know if he's up into rich mix or what, but he's going to try his best to maybe hamper my Grand Prix there. But so far, so good for us. We keep it in P1, and Wehrlein stays P2, and Nico Carey so far still in P3. So it's been a really good Grand Prix for the two rookies there, Carey and Flourish, right up in the order, you know, fighting for top positions. Obviously, they're a bit out of sync with the Grand Prix, but still. But now onto lap 21, we come in for extra pit stop, for that third pit stop. We're planning it all along, so now this will mean that Carlos Sainz, the likes of Ricciardo, Vandoorne, obviously Wehrlein there, is going to go ahead of us, and so they're going to be in the top flight of the Grand Prix, so we're going to have to get the pedal down, the hammer down, and really try and push hard to basically gain the time we're losing right now in the pit stop phases. Sainz, Ricciardo and Vandoorne, all I believe are on those sets of medium tyres, the white wall medium tyres. So I thought that wouldn't be a good tyre to go on. I didn't really think it was going to be a good race tyre, but so far those top three are thinking like it's the one that's going to take them to the end of the race. So we've got only 7 laps left in this Grand Prix to push hard to try and catch up, and we are pushing hard as we set the purple first sector there, catching up once again to the back of Flourish, and ahead of her is Max Verstappen, and then I think it's one of the Ferrari cars, I think I can see just about in the distance there, and behind us we've got Pascal Wehrlein. So Wehrlein has also made an extra pit stop there, so it looks like Wehrlein's converted his strategy to a 3-stop maybe, and he's on a set of super soft tyres, but actually on the top left you can see Gasly's re-overtaken him, so Wehrlein finding a bit of an issue to get past the Red Bull car, and now in the same place we overtook Flourish before. Can we make a similar move? Looks like this time we won't get the move around the outside, but will we cut back and maybe make a move down the inside, go late on the brakes, down the inside, feed it through on the apex, hit the apex beautifully there, and we're going to try and get the power down, but once again that monster rehab car is going to get the straight straight line speed on us, and we're also a little bit low on fuel, so I'm in rich mix momentarily, but at some point, with only 5 laps left in this Grand Prix, I'm going to have to somehow save fuel in this race as well. And so we make another switchback move. This time the switchback's not worked out as successfully as it did before, so we go and have a drag race with the Monster Rehab car. Doesn't work out for us. It's got more straight line speed, and ahead of us, Max Verstappen overtakes one of the Ferrari cars. Oh, I think that's Antonio Giovinazzi or maybe Sebastian Vettel. I think it's Vettel actually by his helmet there, where we go round the outside of Sophia Flörsch, and now we're going to try and overtake the next German ahead of us, Sebastian Vettel on the Ferrari car, who seems to be struggling once again on medium tyres. We go down the inside of him, side by side, going to squeeze him out on the exit there, and so now we're up the order, and now we can try and chase after Max Verstappen through the S section. So this time it will actually be Max Verstappen. Twice I've got it wrong there. It's just so hard right now because their helmets are so similar. But into the hairpin corner, we've got Verstappen locking up quite a bit there on the top right. So we go down the inside, and it's a very easy move. Thank you very much, Max Verstappen. Very, very odd lock-up there for the reigning world champion. So now we've got complete clean air to try and catch up to that top 5, which on the tail end is Nico Hülkenberg in the Haas Chevrolet car, but I believe all of the top 5 are all on medium tyres. So we have a 2 tyre compound difference advantage there with 5 laps remaining, or about 4.5 really, as we're coming through halfway through lap 24. As we move on to the end of lap 24 though, further down the circuit, this is Daniel Ricciardo in P2, Carlos Sainz in P1 with Vandoorne some way back in P3, but this is Ricciardo going for a move for the lead of the Grand Prix and the lead of the Bahrain Grand Prix on lap 25 with 4 laps remaining. Ricciardo down the inside, DRS wide open. He'll just about get it down the inside there. Sainz tried to have a look around the outside, didn't quite work out for him. So Ricciardo now is into the lead of this Grand Prix. Very interesting indeed. But now as we move on lap 25, we can see behind us Sebastian Vettel comes into the pits for a very late pit stop, and Grosjean and Ricciardo will do the same, and also a third car of Vandoorne. So Hülkenberg is now leading the Grand Prix, but all of those guys, including Sainz as well, will be in there, has made an extra pit stop with only 4 laps remaining. So literally, as I mentioned earlier, with the medium tyre not being a great race tyre, these guys have called it incredibly late to come on for a set of super soft tyres in this Grand Prix. And it means now, as we cross the line on lap 27, we're up into first place. Verline is in second in the Mercedes car that's been struggling this entire pre-season and race weekend, with Verstappen, I think, way down the order, just outside the points, I think. Verline is doing an absolute madness at the moment, being up in P2 in a place where that Mercedes car really shouldn't be compared to its performance in qualifying and pre-season. And as we move on, we're starting to have a few little issues because Verline's right up our gearbox there, and just as he surprised me before, he's surprising me again with closing up to us. We've got low fuel, but I'm going to try and go up into rich mix, but you can see here with DRS and slipstream, Verline in that Mercedes powered car is going to come up on my inside, going to try and squeeze him to the inside, going to make it a very, very aggressive move down the inside there. Very, very tight squeeze, really tight on the apex, and re-overtake for first place. There's Grosjean, sets the fast lap of the Grand Prix, but I think my car's got a few issues here because I was up in rich mix, and from the pace we had in qualifying, my engine should be able to outpower the Mercedes car, but it just didn't on that straight with DRS. So I think our engine's starting to have a few little issues. Obviously, Vandoorne had an engine failure in free practice. So as this Grand Prix comes through to the dying stages with only 2 laps remaining, and Sainz is unable to overtake Verline quite there for P2, this is all going to get quite close with Ricciardo not too far up behind, and also Giovinazzi and Stoffel Vandoorne. So here we are, back to our POV on the end of lap 28. Verline, you can see in the mirrors, and the proximity arrow is going to go down the inside. We're going to brake early to try and get the switch back, but I lock up on the right tyre, and that hampers my exit. But we'll still get our slipstream. Won't have DRS, but on this game, the slipstream is so powerful, this will help us out here as we cross the line for the last lap of the Grand Prix. We'll go 3 wide for the race lead with Carlos Sainz and Pascal Verline. Sainz has passed both of us down to turn 1. Sainz will go up into the lead of this Grand Prix. Verline's locked up horribly. We'll go round the outside of him to get back up into P2. Ricciardo's now right up the gearbox of Verline, and Sebastian Vettel sets the fast lap of the Grand Prix. So the Ferrari car's got some raw pace there, but not in this fight due to its tyre wear issues. But now we're still in second place, but now Sainz is up into first place. So after all of that and all the bad tyre strategy he's had, he's back up into first. We're pushing as hard as we can up the hill through the last sector now. This is our last chance to try anything, but look at this. As we go down this main back straight, the Audi engine helps Sainz just start start to pull away, and it's actually not us, but Ricciardo behind us who's going to make a last-ditch effort down the inside of the final corner on Pascal Wehrlein to get a great podium. This will be for Daniel Ricciardo in his debut race for McLaren. Carlos Sainz is going to win the Bahrain Grand Prix. We come home in still a pretty good second place, and Ricciardo gets a late podium there, but it's going to be Carlos Sainz with his 4th win in F1 MyDriver history to come through for the first win of the 2020 season at the Bahrain Grand Prix there. And so us in second, as I mentioned, you saw the podium, Ricciardo, Wehrlein in 4th. It's going to be Stoffel Vandoorne, our teammate, who did overtake Giovinazzi on the last lap of the Grand Prix to get 5th place there. Giovinazzi moves down to 6th with Romain Grosjean in 7th and Hulkenberg in a really good 8th place there. Verstappen just about managed to get into the top 10, and Vettel, even though he set the fast lap of the Grand Prix, out of the top 10 there. So a very, very, very competitive and action-packed Grand Prix, and it's so close. I mean, ignoring Antonio Fuoco, just looking at the 21 drivers who didn't have issues, because clearly Fuoco had an issue with the 4-stop there, the entire grid was separated by 44 seconds. That is insane at the Bahrain Grand Prix, your first round of a season, to be separated by 44 seconds. That is ultra competitive there. Ultimately, an okay Grand Prix for Nico Carey then, the Red Bull car. I still commend his turn 1 antics. That was absolutely amazing to see how many positions he gained. It was just great to see he had literally no kind of issues of confidence into turn 1. And Sophia Flores for the Monster Rehab team does really well in 12th place there, just behind the 5-time world champion Sebastian Vettel there. But as being the first race of F1 MyDriver, so much action there. I'm so pumped for the rest of the season. That was really good to see, and we haven't even seen the full potential of some teams there like Scuderia Ferrari and potentially also Haas Chevrolet as they get to grips with their new engine, obviously, in their new their kind of new surroundings of being in the top 10. Really, the Haas cars aren't used to that. Grosjean and Hulkenberg aren't used to that, so we'll hopefully see more of them. But that has been a very exciting Grand Prix, guys. If you have enjoyed that, hit that like button. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for more videos like that. Let me know what you thought in the comments below of that episode, guys. As always, I absolutely love reading through your comments on F1 MyDriver, guys. I thoroughly hope you guys are pumped for the return of Season 6, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the season ahead. But that's going to be it from me. If you did enjoy it, again, hit that like button. I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And now we're going to cut through to some post-race questions. Goodbye.
So, Arav, a pretty good first race for this 2020 season. Obviously, unfortunate you weren't able to grab the win, but it's understood that there were concerns that you might not even finish the race.
Yeah, it was a pretty decent race, I think, all things considered. We did have a bit of an issue with the engine, a lot of overheating in the last 2 stints, so that was a little bit frustrating. A little bit of management had to be done, and you definitely clearly see in terms of our straight line speed, we were kind of hurting a little bit with the Mercedes being able to close up to us. The entire pre-season, we've been comfortably ahead of the Mercedes guys in terms of pure engine pace, and so I was quite surprised to see Pascal just kind of fly up to us and trying to make an overtake. I didn't really expect that. So yeah, we had some issues there. So I'm just kind of happy we made it to the end of the race, and second place is better than no points. But yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously frustrating not to get the win, but it was pretty damn close out there, and I think it's going to be pretty damn close for the entire season.
And ultimately, is this where you thought you guys would be coming into this 2020 season?
Yeah, I think. I think we are pretty much where we expected. There were a lot of unknowns coming into this race. A few little players in the game that we just didn't know about. You know, Haas with Chevrolet, we didn't know how good Chevrolet's engine was going to be. Obviously, everyone didn't really know how our engine was going to be, apart from us. But yeah, Haas started really strong, very solid, and I think they can only improve from where they are. Ferrari, I think, I think one of the dark horses. I think this race was very deceiving in terms of their pace. I think early on I could definitely tell with Giovinazzi, trying to overtake him was, you could kind of tell they were pretty decent in the corners. I think they just got it wrong a little bit on the tyres. I think they had some issues with their strategy. I think they went way too aggressive with it. But you could see with Sebastian setting the fast lap of the Grand Prix towards the end of his stint at the end of the Grand Prix, I think they've got ultimate raw pace. I mean, in qualifying they're pretty decent with Antonio up there ahead of us. So I think they just got the tyres a little bit wrong, so I think that's going to come into play. But apart from that, compared to Audi and McLaren, I think we're pretty much where we expected.
So finally then, thinking ahead to the next race, how do you see your chances?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Next race, obviously, last year this was a very good Grand Prix for us at the British Grand Prix. That's where we got our first win. It's where Stoffel got the first win for the team, so it's a good hunting ground for us. I think it was a double podium actually as well, so if we can try and match that, that would be absolutely great. Obviously the home Grand Prix for myself and the team as well, which will just give that added vibe. We'll see. Obviously, people are going to bring upgrades straight away because it kind of kicks off a little bit of the European season, I guess, a bit of a kind of spread calendar this year, which is good to see. But obviously, being straight at the British Grand Prix, a lot of guys have factories in the UK, so there's going to be some upgrades coming for many teams. So we'll just have to see what the pecking order is, and hopefully we are just about where we were at this Grand Prix at Bahrain.
Great. Thanks for your time.
All right, cheers.